Kia hiwara, kia hiwara. Kia hiwara ki tēnā tū, kia hiwara ki tērā tū, tū tei tū whakaarapa. Nā mere mere tau wera te whatū taki aho mai o te rangi. Kai ama tau kai raro nei hei karanga, maranga, maranga kai runga. Maranga kai runga I runga I te kaupapa karanga o te rā. Hui hui ai tātou e te tangata hui hui a. Anei nā ka wai atua. Rā te hai ata tākina mai te ripa te tara ki Tauhara. Tauhara te maunga tū aho aho tū aho aho tū matamata. Mai Tauhara maunga ki tongariro e tū mai rarara. O hiwero kia tau nei te ora. Haumi e, hui e, taiki e. Ka tika e te kōrero o tātou mātua tupuna. Ko hoki o tātou nei whakaaro ki te whakaaro nui o te iwi, te whakaaro nui o te tangata. Tūwharetoa maranga, maranga, maranga mai. Anei tātou nā kaitiaki o era nā taongo e waihotia I ngā tūpuna mātua. Te kauai atua nā tāne whakapiripiri hei whakapiripiri ai wera nā hononga whakapono ki ai rungi a tātou I tēnei wā. I roto I te tika, I roto I te puno. Ka timatahia I tātou nā te kaupapa hei karanga. Ngā ti Tūwharetoa. Nā mana ki tanga atua kai rungi a tātou I tēnei rangi I ngā wā katoa. Ea te whakapono, te tūmanako, kia mau. Kia mau ki ta wairua. O tātou nei atua. Hei mana ki I a tātou mai nā tā wāhi o te ao. Mai ngā tā wāhi o te motu. Nā reira maranga mai rā I ngā atua hei manaki, hei tiaki. Tiaki I a tātou I roto I tēnei kaupapa kōrero. He whakahui hui ai nā whakaaro. Ka whiti atu. I roto I te tika te pono me te rangi Māori e. Nā reira kia tau. Kia tau. Kia tau ki e rā nā tangi aitua maha I o tātou mate. Nā mate huhua o te motu. Nā mate huhua o te ao. Nā mate ki tēnā wāhi, ki tēnā wāhi. I raro e te mate uru tā kia tau nei kai roto I te ao. Kia tau nei kai roto I a tātou o Aotearoa. Tātou Ngāti Tūwharetoa. Nā reira kātangi ka mihi ki o tātou mate. Mate huhua o te rā nei, te wiki, te marama, te tau pāhure ake nei. Engari rātau kua moe. Te moe te whita, te moe te ranga, te moe o te tira, te moe e o te atu koutou e wairua tia, e moe, takotoa. Hoki kia tātou e te iwi, Tūwharetoa. Ari ari ai ngā taringa ki tēnei rōpū kaitiaki o era nā taonga o tātou tūpuna mātua. Tēnei te hui a tau mā tātou nā kaitiaki. Hei whakaputa ai te kōrero, kei a koutou te kōrero nā whakaaro nui e mahi ana tātou, nā mahi o te tau, kua pāhure ake nei. Nā reira tēnei te mihi ki a tātou katoa, mai nā tōpito o tēnei motu, tika māui tiki tiki a taranga ki te wai paunamu, ki whare kauri hoki, ki e rana whenua nā, o te iwi moi moi a, koutou ngā tini whanaunga, kei ahi te reiria, whakarongo mai, e te iwi. Nā reira, kia tau ka mihi, kia tātou katoa, e kui mā, e koro mā, te hunga rangatahi ngā mātua, ngā mokopuna, tēnei te mihi o te rōpū e tau nei I raro e te manaakitanga o ngā atua. Tēnei te mihi tonu, ki tō tātou ariki, kua tai tinana mai kai wainganui a tātou I tēnei haora. Ki ta whakanui a wera nā whakaaro nui, ka tika. O nā kāhui ariki, pa tātou tēnā Tūwharetoa, mai ngā hapu, mai te iwi, maranga mai rā. Nā reira, kā puta, kā ora, tēnei te mihi ki a tātou, tēnā koutou. E ngā mana, e ngā tapu, tēnā no tātou katoa, ka huri. Kia ora e te tiamana.
Kia ora. O kia ora napa, mō te tūwero tātou hui. Nō reira e te whānau, kia ora. Thank you very much for coming in to our hui today for the Tūwharetoa Settlement Trust. I note from the data we have a lot of people from Australia. Welcome. We have a lot of people from our even right down to Stewart Island, Rakiura, we welcome you. All of our whānau here, Tūrangi, Taupo, Auckland, again, and even Ratana. We've got a few coming in from Ratana, and we welcome you all. And so please forgive us with regard to the technical issues that we have, but obviously, as you would have seen from the Trust Board AGM, we have sought a new way of doing things, and I think going forward, we will certainly take on the benefits of what we have here today. So, nō reira tēnā tātou. I've got the pleasure of introducing our trustees to you this morning. To begin with our kai kōrero Napa Otami, and he's our puna of all of our knowledge. Napa, kia ora. Judy Harris. Judy is a businesswoman, forestry businesswoman, and is on many trusts and corporations within Ngāti Tūwharetoa. The person to my right needs no introduction, so I'll go to Greg. Greg is our GM, and Greg has had extensive experience in commerce in the forestry sector, right through to financially advising Graham Hart. So we certainly appreciate your presence, Greg. And next to Greg is Dame Georgina Te Hauhau, and again a person who does not need any introduction. However, the first Māori female lawyer, and we welcome you again, Aunt. We welcome you again, and it's a pleasure to be on the board with you. Next to her is Joe. Joe's a business person in the shearing field, and Joan comes all the way from Whanganui Bay. Kia ora, Joe. And then also at the end, Dylan Tahoe, who is a senior executive of the Taupo District Council. So as you can see, we have a mixture of skills. My skills are basically in commerce and land development. Nō reira tēnā tātou. So let's get on with it, and we'll go straight to the agenda. So we're going to do things a little bit different. We're all going to spread a little bit of love, if I can say it that way. So all the trustees will partake in the delivery of some of the agenda items. So we'll start with apologies, and then the AGM minutes, then TST who we are, and that'll be presented by Joe. Chairman's report, myself. Operations and financial report from Greg Stebbing. And then Greg will also take us through some of the recommendations and resolutions that we need to have today. And then finally, Dylan Tahoe will give a synopsis of where we are with our housing strategy. And I shouldn't say our, it's our tribal housing strategy. And we'll let Dylan be able to explain that nearer the end of the meeting. And then finally, we'll also have a kōrero from the Ariki, and then we'll close. In amongst there, we'll have general business as well. Okay? So I have great pleasure in introducing Greg, who will talk about some of the housekeeping issues that we have today. Kia ora, Greg.
Kia ora, Rake. Thank you for that. Kia ora whānau. Just to quickly go through housekeeping, which is a bit different than normal. So today's live stream is being recorded. So you'll be able to watch a full replay once it's been uploaded to our website, which should be this afternoon. We're using some software called Slido to facilitate receiving questions and also voting on the motions or resolutions. So when you signed into the live stream, you're also signed into Slido, so you should see it on your screen. I'll now provide you just with a brief overview of how you can send a question or vote on a motion in Slido. So everyone was invited to submit questions through Slido before our hui started today. If you didn't get a chance to do that, you can still send a question in now. Just a note, though, all questions will be answered at the end of the meeting under general business. All questions are also being moderated, and so if we don't get to answer them all today, we will certainly reply by email to those that we don't. You see on the slide now, to vote on the motions, you use the polls button, the tab in the Slido menu. There are three options for voting. You can either vote in favour, vote against, or abstain from voting on a motion. In the interest of time, registered members who are online already have already agreed to move and second the motions, so no motions will be moved from the floor. I'd like to, well, back to you, Rake. Yep.
Thank you, Greg. So hopefully, whānau, you're able to meander your way through and be able to join us in the resolutions and the voting thereof. I'd like to hand it over to Judy.
Kia ora, Rake. We have received 12 apologies. These will be recorded in our minutes. The resolution is that the apologies be received and has been moved by Hemi James Biddle and second by Claire Northcroft. Please now, whānau, using the poll tab in Slido that is on your screen, if you can do. Oh, great. It's yeah, it's all in favour. So we'll go over to, it's been passed, moved and passed. The minutes of 2019 AGM. The minutes are available on the TST website on the 13th of December. We will take the minutes as being read. If any requests for corrections are received, the motion will be adjusted to read that the minutes of the 2019 AGM held 7th of December 2019 be approved subject to corrections. There are no corrections. The resolution is the minutes of the 2019 AGM held 7th of December 2019 be approved, moved by Kim Alexander and second by Renee DeBars. Those whānau that are using the poll tab on Slido can go to your screen now. Oh, that's 100% moved and passed. And I'll hand it over to the chair. Thank you
very much. Thank you very much, Judy. Thank you. Now you might, I think we thought it was quite important to just also reset where we've come from and who we are, because people hear TST or Tūwharetoa Settlement Trust, and people sometimes don't understand the basis of what our trust is about. And thankfully, Joe has put a hand up to explain that to yourselves. Kia ora, Joe.
Thank you, Rake. So, who are we? We are the Tūwharetoa Settlement Trust, a post-settlement governance entity, PSGE, established by Ngāti Tūwharetoa iwi in June 2009. We manage the financial resources returned to Ngāti Tūwharetoa in the Central North Island Forest iwi collective settlement. Our role is to protect and enhance the arikitanga, mana and rangatiratanga of Ngāti Tūwharetoa, to promote and advance the social, economic and cultural well-being of our members and hapu. The 2009 CNI settlement, an overview. We have 66 million cash, of which is made up of 37 million TST and 29 million of the FHCs. A share of 176,000 hectares of land with 7 other iwi. 25.9% of CNI rental payments until 2043. A share of 3 million New Zealand carbon credits and rights to buy Crown properties, DSP and RFR or deferred selection process or under a right of first refusal process. Over the past 6 years, TST has purchased the properties you can see on the screen. The last properties purchased were this year and are 2 large sections in Taupo, located on the corner of Lake Terrace and Wharewaka roads. These 2 properties provide opportunities for our housing strategy. Ngā mihi te whānau o Ngāti Tūwharetoa Settlement Trust. I'll now hand back to our chair.
Kia ora, Joe. I think if you can give a cyber clap, because Joe was very nervous before doing this and she did a very good job. So thank you very much,
You're
Joe.
welcome. You're welcome. Okay.
Okay, whānau. Those of you who have access to our online AGM document or annual document on the website. Look at page 6, and that will be a synopsis of what my chairman's report is going to be. Okay, so if we can go to the next slide. So primarily, from a chairperson's perspective, our strategic plan is basically our Bible or our guide, and we measure ourselves as best as we can. Any organisation that's looking after tribal money needs to do this, and so we've given ourselves a measurement, and our strategic objectives are there in front of you, and each one of those items has a plethora of tasks underneath. The strategic plan ends at the end of this year, and starts again. We do another one, 2021 onwards. But up till now, I'm quite happy about where we've come from and where we're going. And so if you look through our governance, build governance to enhance iwi reputation, trust and respect, we've given ourselves a mark of 70%. Collaborate with other Tūwharetoa entities, 86%, and I'll explain further where that has occurred. Develop and enhance iwi and hapu relationships through good communication. We've done a little bit of work there this year in terms of website and in terms of database. Continue to enhance financial strength and sustainability through to and beyond 2043. 2043 particularly, as Joe explained, when the milestone of 2043 comes, that's when our income, which is 25.9% of the forest rentals, then changes to 19 odd percent. And so our task really is to identify that date, and especially now with, how can I say, the the unstable nature of the owl at the moment, the world at the moment, very important to take those things into account in terms of strategy and long-term strategy. So yes, it's basically a start off as a 25-year plan going out to 2043. We're in 2020 now, and we'll give it another review next year. Also complete and maintain the trust fiduciary responsibilities, giving ourselves 75% there. Primarily, and I'll talk about it a little bit further, primarily we have a triumvirate of the Trust Board, as you had this morning, and the Fisheries Trust. We work well together and try and do, because we all have the same ethic of supporting ourselves and supporting ourselves in terms of yourselves, Ngāti Tūwharetoa. Thank you. So, we'll go straight to equity and growth. What we have in front of us, if you recall, Joe started at 2009, which identified we were managing assets of $66 odd million in 2009. In 2013, which is where the, perhaps I can say the newer trust came on board, we're around $56 million in terms of equity for the whole trust. You might see on the graph there's dark blue and light blue. The dark blue is the money that we've set aside for the forest hapu clusters, and the light blue is the money that is purely for the tribal fiduciary function. So if we go through to from 2013 through to now, which is a period of 7 years, very different number, starting from 56 million now to basically 111 million. We're very happy with that. We're very happy that we've been able to achieve that also by being able to, how can I say, invest in a tripartite way with the Trust Board and the Fisheries Trust. So that's our equity growth to date, and we're very, very happy with that. I might say that the last little jump up $4 million was primarily around the forest rental increase. So, however, they're numbers and they're good numbers. Thank you. So collaboration. Collaboration, we have an MOU with the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board and the Fisheries Charitable Trust. And I might like to congratulate the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board for their results this year. For all three of us, it's been quite a arduous year. We know everyone around the world has suffered. And with our COVID, we're quite happy how things have turned out from a financial perspective. When we talk about collaboration, we collaborate in our investments. We've collaborated with the databases. We have one single registration form. All of the grants that you would have seen in that wonderful video at the Trust Board's AGM, we all share in that perquisite to yourselves. We have shared staff, which is a big one actually. The core staff are with the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board, and we're able to use, we being TST and the Fisheries Charitable Trust, are able to utilise them through an SLA or service level agreement that we have with the Trust Board. But again, we would not have been able to have these great gains without certainly the Trust Board's core staff and the core relationship that we have with them, because we all work in the same building as well. The next big thing is, and sorry, from a COVID perspective, a lot of you may have also received some benefit with regard to our food parcels, our grocery grants, grocery cards, and so we could only do that to that extent together. The next place that we're looking at for I suppose a major input into our tribal affairs and our tribal development, and a bit of our wanga that's happening throughout the country at the moment, is housing. And so that's an area that we are all looking at, and TST has started off that journey, and the Trust Board and the Fisheries will join us. So as you can see from the slide, COVID-19, support from ourselves, Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board and the Ngāti Tūwharetoa Fisheries Charitable Trust. So our kaumātua, we gave cards there, grocery cards there, kai parcels, and also to the food bank, which was very effective because they had all the distribution points. So these pictures are of our whānau packing, as a lot of our whānau did around the country, and we'd like to thank them for their assistance through this period. I talked about investments earlier. So in terms of investments, we not only as the TST invest with the triumvirate, with the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board and the Fisheries Charitable Trust, we also have collaborated with a number of trusts and corporations around our beautiful Ngāti Tūwharetoa. So in terms of the first on the list, which is the Tūwharetoa Property Investments Limited Partnership, that's all of the schools in Taupo, as well as the courthouse, and as well as some correction property within Taupo here. So we're basically the biggest CBD landowner at present in Taupo. The other major investment that we've made is Kākano. Kākano is an investment with Kaingaroa Timberlands, and so we were able to purchase a percentage of equity there to enable us to be closer to the forestry game, because that's really where our base income comes from. And so Kaingaroa Timberlands, it's the first time one would, through a collaboration with other iwi partners, have put $50 million for a 2% stake in a company. However, this investment has continually appreciated by over 10% since we started. I think right now we're at around 12.5. Hautu Rangipo is another collaboration with TST and some of the trusted and corporations. Hautu Rangipo is the old Tongariro prison, and some of you may know that very well. But Hautu prison is now in the hands of Ngāti Tuwharetoa now. It's 8,000 hectares, and also, you might add, 8 kilometres of the Tūwharetoa River, which has come back to Ngāti Tūwharetoa and was Crown land and was the prison. So that's a very good investment, which is hitting around the 6s and 7s, which is we're quite happy with that. Skywaka is another collaboration with 9 other trusts and corporations, which is basically a bond, and that bond there is a bond that has security, and so we have a very strong position there, and that's done on an annual basis, plus any rides that are there for sightseeing, we get a portion of that. Tūwharetoa Hodo is a multi-iwi investment with Te Arawa, Raukawa, Taranaki, and a number of the other iwi who have put together a sum of $100 million, I think it's $120 million, to go alongside the super fund to make major investments. And so the super fund in that area does all the due diligence for us, and then they give the opportunity to us to have a look at. We do our own due diligence and then go from there. So we're currently investing in a couple of smaller items, but certainly we are looking forward to the bigger items for investment. Taupara ki Te Hikuai is a purchase of land down Tūwharetoa Street in Taupo. A lot of you may know where that street is. That's the party street. However, there has been a bit of land there that's been always quite stale. It used to be the old DSIR building, and so ourselves and Te Paia Waimihia have done a joint venture there. So all of those investments, except for Tauwhara, are in place. The Tauwhara investment still needs to be developed further. Kia ora. So our housing strategy, the TST has, you might have heard when Joe was talking, the RFRs, or first right of refusals. Those properties, primarily TST has looked at all of them and picked up most of them. We've purchased 6 properties in Wairakei, 2 sections in Whariwaka Road, 13 sections in Iwiheke Place, and that's basically almost the road. There's a lot of you from Tūrangi might know Iwiheke Place, and you have all of the spare land that's on the right-hand side as you drive through. All of those sections have electricity and all of the infrastructure there for them, and so that's a really good, how can I say, investment from our perspective. And now the strategy, which Dylan will talk about, is the implementation, and we'll look forward to Dylan's take on that. So it's been a pretty good year. We thought with COVID coming into play, it may have been a little bit more difficult. There were some, how can I say, smaller bumps along the way. However, because of the industry that we receive our income from, which is forestry, is well set, and the relationships are well set with the overseas market, we are very happy to still receive a very good dividend from or income from that space. So looking ahead, as I talked about, 2043 is our milestone, and if you can see from the graph, the darker line in the graph was last year. That's when we thought our target is to go to be worth $150 million at 2043. So last year we would have been worth 137 at 2043. Now we can guarantee that our target will be met, so long as the world stays in the same place, especially when it comes to forestry and our investments. So when you look at that long term, although a lot of our assets are cash, a lot of our, I suppose, modus operandi would be to have a very robust risk management plan going forward with regard to what the world's doing. If China moves a little bit left or a little bit right, then we will have an effect here. And so looking ahead, that's primarily our goal, and looks like we're achieving it to right now. We've still got another 22 years to go, but hopefully those who will be on this board by that time will be able to show the result and complete the result of being worth at least 150 mil. So that's me, whānau. In terms of the chairman's report, sorry it was quite numbery, but I'm sort of like the measure person, and the strategy at the end of the day is your lifeblood. You can change it, which we will be doing in 2021, but I'm very happy with how we are. I'm very happy with our trustees, and I'm very, very excited that certainly the Āraki's been able to be here today, and so kia ora. Thank you very much. And I'd like to put my resolution up, and please vote in the way that you have done previously. Looks like we're getting pretty close. We're 95%. I think we can call that, Greg. What do you think?
Yes, I agree.
So thank you, whānau. I'll be back a little bit later. As you know, a lot of our trustees will come in again. I'd like to introduce Greg Stebbing, our General Manager, who will go through the operations report and also the financial report. Nō reira, tēnā tātou.
Kia ora anō. So the Chair just said two parts to my report, operations first and then the financials. And if you're following it through the annual report, what I'm talking about now will be on pages 10 to 15 of the annual report. So some of the highlights for the year, I guess it's not a very good heading to say earnings down, but it is still a highlight. The earnings were down compared to last year, but they're still very strong at 4.2 million. Last year we had a big one-off through a sale of carbon units in CNI, so it's not to be sneezed at, this year's result. And that basically all translated to a growth in our equity of an increase of 4.2 million. Another highlight was that we actually awarded 3 STEM scholarships this year. Last year we only approved 1, and that was around basically the quality of the applicants. We had a much higher return this year of applications, and we were pleased to, with a very high standard expected, award 3. So these are $10,000 scholarships. We have pride in our members register, which is a joint effort again with the Trust Board and the Fisheries, and just looking at those that have specifically registered for TST. So these are members over 18 years of age. We're just seeing it increasing steadily each year, and last year we had a good increase of 5%. And another highlight to me, because it's been a bit of an effort for a few years, is that we're making good progress on establishing the last forest apu cluster, which is Tūwharetoa. I'm reasonably confident that in next year we will have that completed and transferred their funds to them. Thank you. A bit more data around the members register, just for interest there really, is you can see the geography of where our members are located. Interestingly, nearly a quarter only are in the Taupo-Turangi district. I haven't got internationals there, 5%. And then to the right there is the age breakdown. We'll just keep reporting this each year. I think it's an interesting one to track and give us a good feel for where our members are. Thank you. Distributions has been talked about, and I just wanted to show here the movement, I guess, over the last few years. So you can see we've sort of plateaued out now, which is around just under $1 million. So our goal at the moment is $1 million a year, and that is split effectively between education grants, a paramountcy grant, marae operational costs, which is the $15,000 we grant to each marae, and that's actually going to be, I think, paid in the next few weeks for this year. Distributions, other distributions that we do in collaboration with the Trust Board and the Fisheries, marae capital works grants. So between us, we have a pool of $450,000, and this year we're pleased to award to five marae, and you can see them there: Otuko, Pokura, Takanu, Te Maho, and Tūwharetoa. I think applications are open, if not already, then 1st of December for this year. So if you've got projects ready to go, get them in. Education grants is a big one, and again, between the three entities, we distributed $637,000 to 1,578 whānau. So it was very similar to the same number as last year, but just a very slight increase. And as I said before, marae operational grants, we have 30 marae who receive $15,000 each. Just a bit more detail on the STEM scholarships. I mentioned that. So yeah, it was $10,000 each, and those three successful applicants were Sean Tūroa Te Rihi McNeil. So Sean actually was a repeat recipient. Sean's of Ngāti Tūrangi Tukua, and he's studying a Master of Science at Waikato University. Shakira Tobin Cribb from Ngāti Te Kohera is studying a Bachelor of Science at Auckland University. And Tia Haira from Ngāti Hine is studying a Master of Biomedical Science at Victoria University. CNI, just very briefly, this is very important to us. This is the entity that owns at the moment owns all the whenua of the Kaingaroa Forest. So we're talking 176,000 hectares, of which at the moment we are an equal eighth share. So from an operations perspective, it was pleasing to see that COVID-19 had a reasonably minimal impact on their earnings. And one of the beauties of forestry is that even though the forest may have shut down for 4 to 6 weeks, the trees keep growing. So you don't get an issue like you get in farming where you actually still have to cull animals, etc. So the value of the forest is maintained. Their operating costs continue to decrease as services are streamlined. It's well recognised to be one of the best run forests in the world. CNI Land Management, so this is a small team of which our own John Hura is a party to. They look after our interests with the owner of the trees. So they were a part of a $7 million PGF grant for Tokarangi and Whakarewa forest infrastructure. And they received $0.7 million of non-forestry income received. So we're talking about where they get involved with some tourist operations within the forestry blocks, and the big one is probably if you've been there, the tree walk in Whakarewa forest in Rotorua. Mana whenua, not much to report new here, unfortunately. It's there's a declaratory judgment case scheduled for early next year, and that's basically trying to seek clarity on the adjudicator's 2016 statements. Effectively, this is stopping any interim corridor between the parties until there's a ruling on this. So whilst we still have, it's quite important we have a number of big blocks that are important to Tūwharetoa outstanding. We really can't resume that corridor until this court case is finished. So that was my operational report. I'll just move to the financial report. So this is actually on pages 21 to 49 of the report, of the annual report. And I'll just make a note for you there that in pages 45 to 47, you'll see the independent auditor's report. And the good news there is that we basically got a clear report. So it's always pleasing. It doesn't always happen to all trusts. So we've been very good in the last few years. So financial performance, or the old term profit and loss. You can see I talked about the 4.2 million there. Revenue down due to last year, because last year included a one-off sale of carbon units. So still strong, and you can see distribution and grants at the $1 million. Kākano revaluation. Last year, Kākano took a drop in its valuation of 2.2. This year, it picked up again 1.9 million. So comprehensive income of 4.2 million. Thank you. The financial position, or the balance sheet, and I've got a bit more information on this, but effectively, as you would have seen on the final slide of the chairs, our equity improved from 52.7 million to 56.9 million. So this equity is important that we get to something like the $150 million, which the chair has promised today, because we will see a drop in our rental income in 2043. That's why we have this target. We get an allocation today, but that will drop through mana whenua outcome. And the reason it's important is that we use that fund to make, if we invest it well, it enables us to do more distributions. So it's pleasing that we are increasing at a steady rate. In the assets this year, we actually had $2.1 million came out of our managed funds portfolios to purchase properties. So that was effectively the final payment for Wairakei and those properties referred to at Whariwaka Point. Thank you. There's just a diagram of how the 52.7 million is made up. So you can see 21.2 million at the top there is, 25.4, which is our biggest single asset, is the Kākano investment. And as the chair spoke to, this has been a standout investment for us. I think I've said this every year so far. And we look forward to it continue that way. And then the 21.2 million, the other single biggest item, is what we have in managed funds. So managed funds is where we effectively, it's invested what we call a balanced portfolio. Oh, there we go there. So managed funds, we're invested in what you call a conservative portfolio. So that effectively says we have 50% of our fund in very liquid assets and things, but they tend to have a lower return, and the other 50% is in growth assets. Our funds are managed by Iwi Investor, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Lake Taupo Forest Trust. Whilst they manage the funds, we actually get investment advice from a company called My Fiduciary. So this is it's a small firm, but there's two gentlemen in particular who provide the advice that are ex-super fund and very highly rated. So we're pretty pleased with the performance they give us. They kept us well informed during COVID, where I think I'll show you a slide in a minute where there was quite a reaction to the COVID in the initial days. So in the last 12 months, up to June 20, our fund earned 4.3%, which was lower than we originally forecast, but it was still pretty pleasing, given that term deposits are now around about 1% at best, really. And when we actually moved to this investment regime since 2018, we've earned 5.1% per annum after fees. Thank you. Just a little, quite an interesting diagram. So this is since we moved the funds from term deposits into these managed funds, and the red line is inflation. So you always want to be at least beating inflation, otherwise you're going backwards. The green or the teal line is the 90-day bank bill rate, which is a pretty standard measure, and the black line is what we've been earning since inception. So what I want to highlight here is really that you can see that there are bumps. What you want to see is the overall trend going up. And to the right-hand side, you can see the big dip there. That happened in February and March when COVID started coming to the fore. And then in March, towards the end of March, it just really crashed. And I think our portfolio probably dropped by about $2 million, which is a bit unnerving. But then it very quickly recovered, and by the end of June, we'd effectively recovered all those losses. There's still quite a bit of, concern out there as to whether these markets will hold up, but that's why we have these advisors. And I think since June 2020, in the last 3 months, we've actually seen it improve even better. So that's just to show the bumpiness of these markets, but overall you do tend to get higher trends. Thank you. So that's the end effectively of what I was going to talk about. Any questions will come through later on. So I'd like to put resolutions, and the first one is that the operations and financial report be received. This was moved by Danny Lachlan and seconded by Ngātoru Wall. And at the moment that's 100% in favour, so we'll take it as passed. The second resolution I've got, and this is a compliance thing we need to do each meeting, is appoint the auditors for the next year. And the resolution is that Crowe be reappointed as auditors. That was moved by Raina Ferris-Bretherton and seconded by Hemi Biddle. Yep, that's majority, or that's unanimous, so we'll take that as passed as well. Thank you very much.
Kia ora, thank you, Greg. And thank you, Whānau, for going through that report with Greg. Our I suppose our more, how can I say, newer initiative is yet to be presented by Dylan Tahoe, and that's our housing strategy update. Kei a koe, Dylan?
Kia ora, Mr. Chair. Heoi nei, kia ora mai koutou, kia ora mai tātou. E tautoko tere e hau i ngā mihi, ko mihi ia, kia koutou heoi, kei taku ari ki tēnā koe, koutou ko tō whānau a tēnā tātou. Our whānau will be aware that TST's received some pūtea and some whenua as part of our settlement from 2009. Both Joe and our chairman Rākei have talked about some of the rawa that have come back to us, but included in that is the right to acquire some property. And so that's through two processes. One is the right of first refusal, and the other one is the deferred selection properties. These two processes has set the tūāpapa for us as the housing strategy going forward. So in 2019, TST went out, we did a survey. We sought to understand the priorities from our whānau when it came to housing for our people here at home. And what we found in the survey was that there are various aspirations for people to either own their own home, some to live at home, and for some, actually, it's just about a roof in an emergency situation. But one thing that we definitely heard strongly was a warm, safe, and strong whare that provides for the whānau. The short-term, medium, and long-term goals are on the screen now, and they're key to us going forward with our strategy. The government has actually stolen our name, Tūwharetoa Kāinga Ora, but for us, the housing strategy was prioritised by this board, where we looked at what supports our iwi entities have provided to the people, and housing is a national issue, and for us at Tūwharetoa, we need to understand what that means for us here. So what you'll see, go back one. So what you'll see on the three screens, on the three blocks here is short-term, medium-term and long-term goals. Some of those kupu in there are language that we use in everyday conversation. It's about supporting our families and whatever the aspiration. For some people, it's not an opportunity anymore to be able to own your own home, but it is an opportunity to hoki mai ki te kāinga. Ka pai. So the housing strategy, healthy homes, healthy whānau, thriving communities of Tūwharetoa, completed the development of our Tūwharetoa Kāinga strategy document, liaising with key organisations. Everyone has a role and a function in housing, and that's something that Tūwharetoa have inserted ourselves in through the Tūwharetoa Settlement Trust, wanting to take on that leadership role in building what it is an opportunity for our whānau to live safely, warm, dry homes at home. Our contract manager is Wikitoria Blandina. She looks after this strategy, helping shape what is the opportunity for this board to contribute to what home looks like. That vision for us, homes worthy of Ngāti Tūwharetoa. Note that kōrero, homes worthy of Ngāti Tūwharetoa uri, homes for mana and whanaungatanga, communities where our future generations will thrive the Tūwharetoa way. E hara ko te whānau no te tangata anake, ko te whānau o Tūwharetoa. So our housing strategy, we want to roll out pilot programs next year. That continuum of different ways that people want to get their whānau homes going. Advice and advocacy program, repair and maintenance program. Whānau already have some of their papakainga homes. Residential building program for 18 to 20 homes. And as we talked about previously, we've got 6 houses in Wairakei. We've got opportunity to add more, develop those properties to be able to live our way. It's no longer about having that support in a communal opportunity to live. Mara kai, how we deal with wastewater, how you deal with stormwater, all of those things are things to be developed and considered as part of this mahi. We also have 2 sections at Wharewaka in Taupō. That potential again for housing development, it is zoned residential. And then down in Tūrangi, we were fortunate to be able to secure 13 sections in Iwiheke. In Tūrangi, again, opportunity for a housing development to build whānau in that communal kōrero in a new way of living, adding to the building stock that our whānau would occupy. Ka pai.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dylan. this is a time where you fellows can put some questions through. We have raced along. I didn't realise we were going so well. However, we will dedicate this time for your questions. And as we go forward, we'll try and answer them. And each one of the members wants to be able to answer them for you. And we'll start down by you, Dylan.
Okay.
You got a lucky one, that one.
This is a top question from the lovely Courtney Marshall on behalf of all Tūkau Marae. I'd like to thank you all for your hard work, support during COVID, and for the Marae grant towards our wharekai extension. Me ngā mihi.
Thank you. Next question. Joe?
And this is from, Whare Ngāmotu. Kia ora, when do you anticipate houses being available for Tūwharetoa under your kāinga strategy? 2021 or beyond?
Dylan?
I'll answer if you like. Kia ora. Good question, but answer a bit unknown. It's early days. We're in heavy discussions with Crown agencies who are going to be quite key to this. So I'm thinking by mid-21 we'll have the plan locked down and funding sort of secured. So probably at best end of 21, but more likely into 2022.
Thank you, Greg. Next question, please. George?
Cynthia Ellis, acknowledgement and thanks to TST for the Marae grant. If it wasn't for the support from our iwi trusts, we would struggle to run and maintain our marae. You're welcome. Kia ora for your acknowledgement.
Kia ora, guys.
Greg?
This is Tia Marama Jocelyn Smith. Kia ora to Chairman and Trustees. What application form do I need to apply to get a Papa Kāinga grant, as our Papa Kāinga is part of the Hapu Ngāti Hine Rau? We don't have grants as such, as I sort of touched on. We're developing the strategy, but we have a lot of whānau interests and iwi interests registering with us. So I'll be happy to take an email from you and make contact with you. If you contact the office maybe on Monday.
Thank you, Te Ao Marama. Christine Kidwell, were the six homes in Wairakei Village sold onto whānau? If so, how was that processed? Was it a good investment? So we haven't sold the homes, Christine. We still own them, and they're currently being rented out, firstly to the folk who were renting when we first bought them from Lynn's. And however, that once we get our strategy going, certainly those are assets for the whole housing strategy. Then we'll certainly look at which model we're going to adopt. And so that may take a little bit of time, as Greg said, probably hitting it properly in the beginning of the middle of 2021. Thank you.
Can I add to that one? Sorry, Christine, just a quick. So really, on that, we wouldn't be looking to sell them until we know what we're doing, because I think there's room there to have more houses, as Dylan touched on. They're big sections and most of the houses at the front, so we want to know what we're going to do with the rest of the property. And of those 6 houses at the moment, 4 of them are definitely rented to Tūwharetoa whānau. The other 2, we didn't want to evict anybody, but our goal is mainly to place Tūwharetoa people in them.
Can I add something?
Yes.
So remember, those houses were part of the properties available to the trust to purchase, and one of our ongoing kaupapa, I suppose, is to where we could have the opportunity to bring land back that once was ours. Then that's what our overall kaupapa has been, on taking the opportunity to purchase where they became available to us as of right from the settlement.
Yes.
Thank you. The next question from Trish, Greg.
Thank you, Trish. I guess our goal is to house whānau anyway, Tūwharetoa whānau. So whilst we don't have a firm plan yet, that is our target. That is our only target group. So yes, the answer has to be yes.
I think if I could add, Mr. Chair, we don't know what we're going to do with those lands yet. The opportunity to purchase the lands that Auntie George has identified was a part of a process. That was how we had to become involved, but it's not how the only way we're going to become involved. So being the largest private property owner in Taupo means that we have opportunity to work through what potential developments can present alongside our other tribal entities as well for the benefit of our whānau and their housing.
Thank you, Dylan. Next question to you, Judy.
Is that Shirley Bennett?
Shirley Barnett.
Shirley Barnett.
Oh, kia ora Shirley. Kia ora tertiary education strategy for our tamariki, some funding for education, and heard about the 3 STEM grants given to students. What about others?
We'll just get Greg or Georgina to answer this.
Yeah,
They're on the
that's-
committee for the STEM.
What about others? So this year, or for the last 2 years, we decided to put a focus on scholarships in science, research and technology. We give a contribution through to the trust board for scholarships across the board, but for our own trust, given we have a forestry background, we wanted to put an emphasis on science. Okay, and I mean, but not just because of forestry. Science obviously takes us to other places as a country, okay? And because you see with the COVID, the world is now waiting on the scientists to produce a vaccine. So that's where we decided to put the emphasis on these 3 special scholarships for this year. We may do something different next year, but for the moment, that's where we kind of see the priority.
Yes, and just to add to that, Shirley, so really that one, the STEM one, is one that TST does on its own effectively, but as we've said, we contribute to the pool of funds with the Trust Board, along with fisheries, and there are a number of other scholarships in there. There's trade training, there's a whole range, so really both websites, I think, will give you information on that one.
Thank you. Next, please. I'm a builder. When and how can I help? Beautiful, Aaron. Okay, we've got your name, Aaron. You're registered. Once we start building, Aaron, we'll give you a call.
Hi, Aaron.
I think that's your Auntie Jo, isn't it?
That's his mother, Joe.
Oh, that's his mother, Jo. Thank you, Jo.
You're welcome.
Looking for a job already. Yeah. Okay, Aroha French, our wonderful Aroha French, and Napa, you're here to answer your cousin's question.
Her question, would the Tūwharetoa housing strategy support uri in already established papakainga, whom are living in substandard housing? I think that's our outreach. Our outreach is to go out and identify where the issues are, both rural, urban, and within and we're starting at home. Aroha, you know this. As an example, I've been asked to come down to Ōruatua tomorrow to bless some of the land and to bless one of the whare that's been erected. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. But some of the things that you've raised in that, in respect of substandard housing on papakainga sites, kei te tika. And also, I make the comment about Motutere Point. So we are having a wide-angled view of the needs in respect of a whare oranga mō tātou tiwi. Kia ora, Aroha.
If I can just add to that, Chair, that is one of our key short-term goals, is to ensure that it repairs the insulation. We've had a strong and proud history of insulating our homes from right back in 2009 through to 2012. those repairs, accessibility, all of those things are things that we see as a priority in the short term. So absolutely tautoko katoa nā kōrero anapa.
Kia ora. So I hope that satisfies you, Aroha. And we'll go back down to you, Dylan. Ryan Ferris, Bretherton.
Waihi Marae wish to convey our genuine appreciation to the trustees of TST for the annual Marae grant, Marae Capital grant, and tautoko received during lockdown. Miha te kia koutou o tāpeka whare. Thank you very much for letting us know that the support is welcome. So kia ora koe, Raina.
Kia ora,
Tēnā
Raina.
koutou.
Joe, your question next.
Hi, where were you? Te ao marama, Jocelyn Smith again. Hi. I also would like to know what application form to apply for funding to make a community garden, as this section is connected to Waipahihi Marae. That would be you, Dylan.
Kia ora, Dylan.
Oh, kia ora. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We don't have specific funding opportunities for community gardens, but we do have our marae grant, so hopefully that support is getting into the marae. I certainly know the trustees are active around beautification and getting the mara kai, but again, we also would be able to assist in facilitating conversations with other parties that also support mara kai.
I think certainly at Waipahihi Marae, those of us who drive past Taupo see the whānau working on the bank there. It looks wonderful, it looks beautiful. And so I think Greg wanted to finish off answering this question. Greg?
No, I don't. I don't.
No, wonderful work, Te ao marama. Auntie George?
Renee DeBarras, kia ora koutou. Is there any work being done to amalgamate our two settlement entities to share and save resources?
I'm happy to answer this. So as you saw in my chairman's report, we've certainly started with the three, which is Tūwharetoa Settlement Trust, Trust Board being the core, of course, as the staff holders, as well as the Fisheries Charitable Trust. Certainly the door has been open. There is some dialogue going between the parties. So yeah, the door has always been open, and we look forward to certainly cementing our current triumvirate, and going forward, also seeing with our whānau at, I can see you're talking about te kotahitanga, the door is always open.
Kia ora Hemi, kia ora rawa atu kia koutou e te poari mō te pūtea e koha mai kia mātou i tira tau nā te kānu marae. It was a pleasure.
Kia ora Hemi, thank you very much for that, and that's Hemi with one E. Biddle. Okay, next question. Trish, who are we at? Okay, I'll do that one. With the establishment of the FHC for Taurewa, is there an opportunity to support the hapu and te hapainga with interest in Hautu Rangipo lands? I suppose those two issues really are not connected primarily. The FHC is our requirement and our compliance for Taurewa to be established. With regard to the te hapainga for the Hautu Rangipo lands, certainly that is with our people and with the Forest Trust, with the Lake Tūwharetoa Forest Trust, TST, and the farms, of which many of our whānau are beneficiaries of at present. But certainly the issue comes up at our AGM. I think the AGM for Hautu Rangipo and the directors of Hautu Rangipo would love to receive such a request. Thank you. Paddy Henderson, thank you for your support during COVID for our kai and mask. It was really needed at a difficult time for us kaumātua. Will there be any more distributions? Hold the line, Paddy, until the end of the meeting, and we'll hopefully make you smile. But certainly that process, the process of COVID, even though it was not a very nice one, in terms of being part of that COVID support program, it actually brought a lot of us together, which was quite wonderful in terms of being able to get the masks and stuff out to yourselves. It was an absolute joy to ring some of our kaumātua, and quite aroha really, because we're all given a list to ring at staff at work, and so you go through. I'd ring up a kuia in Invercargill, and she would say, "Thank you very much, but we don't need it. You can give it to someone else." And that's a message that we got through a whole lot of our kaumātua. But at the end of the day, they, that's old school. And so when you hear that and see that sort of thing, that's when you really are happy to be able to provide some sustenance or some benefit to our old people. So kia ora. Sorry for that departure. Another question, please. How long do trustees serve on your board, and how often are they appointed? Every 5 years. I think we're in year 3. We're in year 3 at the moment. So just looking down our line here, Napa was an establishment trustee. Certainly Tātumu has been part of, he is a trustee in his own right and will be so forever. And the next tranche or echelon of trustees was represented today, basically started in 2013, and that's Dylan, myself and Dame Georgina. And so we've been here for 8 years.
8 years.
8 years, it seems like 30, I tell you that. But 5 years, whare, 5 years, and so 2 more years will come up for election. And as you know too, our voting here is a little bit different. We have takiwā. So Dylan represents up here in Taupo, Joe represents over Western Bays, I represent Te Mata Puna, Judy is the southern area, Waiwai, etc., and over the hill, and Napa and Dame Georgina are iwi reps, and so you can vote, all of us can vote for that iwi rep sector, and Tātumu, the position is always with the House and will always be so. And Greg will come and go, eh, Greg? But no, that's your answer. Kia ora.
That's a good answer.
Compliments to the government's trustees for the recovery and growth of the fund since 2013. That's from Warren Huirama. Thank you very much, Warren.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Kia ora.
Christine Kidwell, Greg?
From Christine, I'm absolutely grateful that we are now seeking to help whānau rebuild and to repair houses. Thank you, Christine.
Yep. I agree.
Okay, we're identifying that there are no more questions coming through. We really do enjoy this part. If you do think of any questions, please still type them through, and then they will be received by our admin folk here, and we can answer them by email direct to you. So the main thing is, please ask questions, because they're really helpful for us, because we are going to do our strategic plan soon, and it'll be very important to see and identify your whakaaro about what are the issues that you are all dealing with. So at that note, general business or whakawhiti kōrero is over, and I'd like to give the stage to our ariki Tātumu Te Heuheu. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Chair. Tēnā koutou Ngāti Tūwharetoa. Tūwharetoa i te kāinga, Tūwharetoa i te ao. He aroha nui kia koutou, kia tātou katoa. I simply want to offer my best wishes to everyone as we move into the festive season. And I look forward to seeing you all again in 2021. On that note, be safe and be kind.
Kia ora, Uncle. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And on behalf of the Trust, I'd like to thank you for making the time to come with us. We know for you to get around's hard, and we do appreciate you being able to be with us. I thank the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board and the Fisheries Charitable Trust for the collaborative work that we've been doing over this last year and the exciting work that we're looking to do going forward. I thank my trustees for the work that we're all doing. You can see when they all answer the questions, they all have different skills. And when it all comes to one pot, it's magic. I can tell you, it's magic. To the staff, to Greg and to Te Aroha, our immediate staff, thank you so much. And that's Te Aroha Woods, all the way from Tauata. God bless you, Te Aroha. And then also our staff, Kim, and I shouldn't name everyone, Maho, Courtney, and Gay, the pleasant people that use Raina, and the rest of the staff, Michelle Tyrell, the most beautiful staff member that you have. And but thank you all. Thank you all. The result that we have here is certainly commensurate to the collaboration that we have with all of you at all levels. And I thank you, the people, for coming here today, although through cyber, as Greg talked about and the rest of the trustees talked about, it is a way forward for us to not only have a physical meeting, a tinana meeting, but also to have a meeting where you can all pipe in. Our Australian whānau, thank you. Our Ratana whānau, thank you. Our Stewart Island whānau, thank you. And all the rest on both motu, thank you very much for coming in today and listening to our kōrero. Our hope is, again, to give you a solid base to work from, and in terms of our tribe, and housing's our next big one. However, we will still try and meet our target of $150 million in 2043. Okay, so that's it. We'll go to the Merry Christmas. So, Merry Christmas, everybody. Sorry to have it up like that, but at the end of the day, what we've been able to do over the last evening is talk about our whānau. We've gone through COVID. It's still here. We're very lucky that we live at home. And for our kaumātua, again, the three of us have got together, the Trust Board, ourselves, led by TST, to look at another voucher to our kaumātua over 65 for Christmas. So we do appreciate our old people, and we hope that this is a little token of our appreciation for this holiday period. So all I can say is God bless, and thank you very much for coming in today. Kei a koe napa.
Ai, ka tīmata tātou I tēnei ata nā te poari o Tūwharetoa, hei tīmata era nā kawai. Ta tū atu tātou I tēnei ahi ai, ko au anō ka tukuna atu era nā kawai tū hikitia tū hapaunga. Nā reira, ka tai ki te mutunga, I raro era nā tikanga o tātou tupuna mātua ki te tukuna atu nā kawai wairua ki ngā atua. O ke ki te oronga wairua o te tangata, mai te oronga wairua o ngā atua. Ko te whakauru ora ki te kaununui, ko te whakauru ora ki te kauroro, ko te whakauru ora kia tau nei kei rungi a tātou. Mai tēnei haora, ka whiti atu ki te marama e tū mai rā kai mui a tātou. E kia nei ki tērā poropiti a he hukaraiti. Te tama o te atua, mo tōna rā e whānau mai I aia. Nā reira, ko hoki tēnei ki era nā poropiti o tātou tupuna mātua. Ka tika, kia rapu hia era nā kupu o te paipera tapu, hei ārahi I a tātou, kai roto I o tātou nei hāhi. Nā, ko te kōti rikirangi tērā, e te ringa tū e tūake nei e wiri tonu I ki a tātou. Kia tahu pōtiki wirumu rātana nā ka hoki ana hau ki te waru o Noema, kua pāhure ake nei. E maumaharatia nā ki te wairua tapu, e kia nei kai aia e karangahia ai ki ta māramatanga kia tau nei kei rungi a tātou katoa. Ka tika I tēnei rangi, nā kawai o nā poropiti Māori, nā poropiti o te ao, Kia tū hiki tia o tātou whakaaro nui ki te atua. Nāna hei tiaki, nāna hei manaki i a tātou katoa. Mai tēnei haora, inga wā katoa, tūturu ōwhiti, whakamaua kia tīna,
Hei.
ting, haumie, hui e.
Hai.
Whakaria
mai, tori peka ki au, tia ho mai, aroto i te pō, he kona titiro atu ai, ora mate, he au koe no ai. Akaria mai, tori peka ki au, tia ho mai, raroto i te pō, he kona o titiro atu ai. Ora mate, he au koe no ai. Ora mate, he au koe no ai.
Ngā manaakitanga kia tau kairungi a tātou inga wā katoa, tūturu ōwhiti, whakamaua kia tīna,
Tīna.
haumie, hui e.
Hai.
Kia ora tātou.
Merry Christmas.
Ngā mihi o te kirihimete.
Merry Christmas. Very good.